Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coach Carter's Show. I'm your host, Clarence Jones, as we go over each and every week what happened to Bruin football as we review what happened this past Friday, and also we'll take a look at what's coming up down the road for our Bruins. And as always, to take that trip back down to what happened this past Friday and a look ahead, as always, the head coach of Orangeburg Wilkinson Bruin Football, Coach Chris Carter. And Coach Carter, of course, big win against Keenan, the Raiders. The Raiders had our number last year. They defeated us during the regular season, then they beat us in the playoffs. So now everybody was looking at this game as this was the barometer of where Bruin football was at in the 2025 edition, and I say it passed with flying colors. Just want to get your opening remarks about the great game the Bruins put on this past Friday.
Correct. Last year, they beat us at home 2026, and then in the second round of the South Carolina playoffs, they just annihilated us. And so I think our guys went up to Columbia with a little chip on his shoulder, and but it turned out to be somewhat of a heavyweight fight there in the beginning, but in the end, our guys were able to pull the victory out.
Oh yes, definitely. They pulled the victory out, and also convinced a couple of naysayers who thought otherwise. I think some of the naysayers has quieted down just a little bit, at least for these next couple of weeks, Coach.
I think in sports, you're gonna have that. You'll have people that believe. You're gonna have people that don't believe. You're gonna have people that's, once you conquer one, they already gave you your next test. So it's a part of athletics. I think anytime you're trying to build something, there always, you're gonna have doubters. You're gonna have people that doubt what you're doing. But a lot of times, I tell our kids, we don't focus on, the doubters and critics and all that stuff, because, those people are there. They're just there. If they're not doing nothing to help you and all they're doing is criticize you, I tell our kids, don't even worry about it, but focus on what's important. Focus on the people that you have here in this room, that's in this fight with you, that's blood, sweat, and tears.
Coach Carter, of course, the defense came alive here as it has been throughout the early part of the season, and talk about how this defense was able to shut down the offense of Keenan.
I think one of the things, they got all conference wide receiver Lovett and Thompson. I think those guys are really explosive. I think Coach Evans, both Coach Evans, Coach Ellis, Coach Valdez, and those guys put together a really good defensive scheme, and they really broke down the film. But I think the biggest thing where they went into it was like to force Keenan to make decisions and make those guys make somebody else have to beat you versus those two guys.
And one thing too, the line of scrimmage also going again. The line of scrimmage was one up front in this victory over Keenan. So also talk about the D linemen who held it down there and gave opportunities for the defensive back and linebackers to make plays.
We got a really good defensive line coach, Jabari Ellis, who played at Carolina. But man, we got some players over there. We got freshman Najee Pelzer, 6'4", about 189, 190. But he's going to be something special in the future. Terry Johnson, another sophomore. And then we got some younger kids we've been playing. We got a couple of freshmen we just started inserting in there, along with Jackson Glenn and Jaden Lambright. So those guys are doing a really good job up front, getting to the ball and making plays.
Now, not only the defense was making plays, but also special teams. Earlier this season, I guess people was kind of hitting that I guess Achilles' heel was going to be the special teams, but hey, the special teams made some good plays in the victory over Keenan, especially Dash. I mean, to start off the game, Dash brought the ball back into Keenan territory, and I think for punting situations, and it was almost like flipping the field and into our favor.
I know in the first game we had some guys missing. We had, due to certain circumstances, but like Najee Pelzer, a freshman, is taking over punting duties. Roman Pickering, he didn't even play in the first game. He's also our field goal kicker, and he's been doing a really good job making field goals. I think last game he went 4 for 5, and this game he went 5 for 5. So there were pieces that were there, but under certain circumstances, those guys just weren't able to play in those particular games. But you have those situations, and that's what some of the things about non-conference games. It gives you a chance to work out some of your kinks before you get to region, and just see who else can do something if you need be, if you have to have that.
But it does add a sense of X factor in it. If the special teams can play well, definitely this can be a very special season, because what the coaches usually say, we have to win 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. And it seemed like all 3 phases worked well for the victory this past Friday, Coach.
I thought that, like you say, Jalen Dash had a really good return. Najee Pelzer did a great job punting. We also were able to block a punt, so that's another part of it. And so, those things do play a key part in it. Helping you achieve your goal of winning the game. So we don't take it lightly. Coach Johnson, who is the special teams coordinator, our guys are doing a good job.
Now, of course, we talked about the defense, we talked about the special teams, but let's get into what was having a special night, offensively speaking, from the passing game and also out of the running game. But from the running game, a surprise, I would say, because it's not the normal names that you would hear in the running game. But hats off to Chris Glover for filling in that running back spot. The running back field was a little bit light for you on Friday. It's a 2-parter question. The first part is, how is the backfield right now? I know Avenger wasn't in there the whole game as far as offensively speaking. So you was down a couple of running backs. So you had to turn to your All-State linebacker and Chris Glover, and Chris came out and he did a wonderful job back in the backfield. So talk about the running game all the way around.
Yeah. First of all, I thought Keenan did a good job in the beginning, kind of bottlenecking our running game. They have 71. I can't think of his name. Defensive tackle, 6'5", 320. 2 ends. One was 6'4", 195. Another one 6'5", 196. So they had some really good size on the defensive line. They kind of stifled us a little bit in the running game in the beginning. I know Avenger had 41 yards, DT had 5. They had to go out of the game a little early. And so we had to rely on Brendan's, throwing ability there. He completed 294 yards, which I think he went 20 of 25. And there was sometimes he went 6 for 6 on pass completions. But one of the things, as we got toward the end of the game, we had to, have a running attack, to help seal it. And, of course, Chris Glover is an all around just a big time player. And he's tough, he's rugged, he understands the game, he plays with physicality, and he doesn't shy away from the big games. A lot of times you have players that shy away from the big games, but he rose to the occasion. We put him in. First carry, he went 30 yards. Next carry, he went 12 yards in for the end zone. And then on the last run, which was just unbelievable, I think he broke about 5 or 6 tackles, spunt out, and then reverse field and took it in for the nail in the coffin to make it 35-14.
Yeah, Chris Glover, he came to work. I mean, not only he did what he was asked to do on offense when he was down a couple of players, but also defensively too. He was one of the leading tacklers on the Bruins squad that night, getting about 9 tackles. So he was getting it done offensively and defensively. And this was a crazy stat that I think he only carried the ball like 4 times, but he had 111 yards and a touchdown. That's a crazy stat right there. That's like, I want to say about almost 25 yards. Say it again.
Yeah. 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. Yes, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Chris. Yes, 2 touchdowns. But again, I mean, it's the average per rush was like over a little over 25 yards per rush. Because he only carried the ball, like I said, by about a handful of times. But he had over 100 yards, 111 yards to be exact, and as you mentioned, 2 touchdowns. So, how is it now that you have a solidified probably about a three depth backfield?
We got we do have some running backs. And with that performance, you can't ignore his ability. You can't ignore his ability. You can't not have this guy somewhere on your offensive side of the ball being able to do that. So it's something good to have because you know, it's different games, different people show up, and that game right there, Chris Glover showed up and he showed up in big fashion.
Yeah, he showed up in big fashion, and matter of fact, he's my star of the game actually, because he stepped in offensively and led to a couple of touchdowns, and defensively, he held Keenan. And well, the rest of the Iron Claw defense, but of course, he had about 9 tackles. So he was doing it offensively and defensively. So now we was talking about people, so let's get into it. The passing game. I mean, we was talking about this about a week or so ago that we wanted to see who would step up in the passing game. And this past Friday, you not just one but 2 receivers to go over the 100-yard mark, and Peebles almost throwing for almost 300 yards and also a couple of touchdowns. So, talk about the passing game and the improvements that you have seen, especially with helping the win out against Keenan.
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I thought Keenan really kind of stifled us on the run game. We weren't able to really get a lot going. Just a little bit there, and we had to go to a different set. So we changed some things up. Put it in Brendan's hands, and he found those guys. I mean, you know, Dalen Hoffenweger, he's a different type dude. He's different, and I mean, when I say different, I mean it's like I don't see why this guy can't easily be playing somewhere in the SEC or the ACC easily. He's just that type of dude. But Desi Miller stepped in. I also, made some huge catches, and Desi's one of those guys that still hasn't come anywhere near his full potential. Like Desi Miller, the only thing can stop Desi Miller is Desi Miller. But Desi played outstanding job. He caught an unbelievable fourth down. We went for it on fourth and like 3 inside our 27. He made a fingertip catch to give us first down. So Brendan, and like I said, there was one series where Brendan went 6 for 6, like 6 for 6, and the only thing stopping him was 1 sack, and then he came back and hit Dale on a 58-yard bomb. And so, and the thing about it, he's only a 10th grader. So, we have these
Yeah.
guys here coming back. So, but I just thought, when the run game didn't work, I thought we did a really good job in the passing game.
And you say these are 10th graders, these are underclassmen, and they're going to be around the program for the next couple of years. So, and then not only that, you have those talent that's coming up from JV and earlier that they can help out as the years go. But Do you see that now? It seems like the future is now, and especially with that win over Keenan, that the future is now. And why not us? You know, why not us? Let's try to run through this schedule, this gauntlet schedule, undefeated.
Yeah. We got, we do have another a couple of big tests coming up. Fox Creek is right now is undefeated. If they win next week, in that game, when we travel them, be a game of two undefeated teams. They both, no one has lost a game. That'll be another big test coming up. But I just think it's all about the process. And a lot of these guys, were freshmen when I first came in. They were playing. 2 years they went through the hard times, and they didn't leave. They stuck in with it, and now they're starting to see the fruit, the seeds of what they sowed then, starting to come to pass now. And so, it's not. I never want to take anything from a 15, 16-year-old kid that's gone through some adversity, because many of us, if we think back to when we was that age, we went through some adversity and we had to push through. And I think a lot of times adults forget. They forget that we're still dealing with young men. We're not dealing with a grown men. And if they can think back on some of the things they made in support wise, they wish they had, we have opportunity to get at these young men. And so, I take my hats off to them. They work hard. They put the work in. They're not doing anything negative. They're doing something positive. So I think that's something that, from a community standpoint, from our older men, I think those young men, I don't say they deserve it. I think they've earned somewhat of the community's respect.
Yeah, definitely. They do earn the community respect, and they are getting respect from other communities around the state. I mean, right now, still, OW is in the top 10 state ranking wise. So that's something to strive for, to even get better. But I believe going into the game against Keenan, we was ranked seven in some polls, eight in other polls, and obviously with the win over Keenan and however everything turned out, we might move up in the rankings just ever so slightly before that big showdown against Fox Creek in a couple of weeks here. So, how is it when you see that offensively, you see your receivers getting over 100 yards, making the big plays, the running back situation, even though Avenger, this got they was out, but you had Chris Glover to step in. So, what does that say as far as talent wise and the depth that this Bruin team of 2025 can possess and potentially can get better?
Yeah, like I said, I think our young men are very talented, and it's a belief system, and one of the things I always tell I tell our guys, you got to believe, and sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, you got to believe even when people don't believe. I always, I told them the other day, you usually when God give you a vision, it usually sound crazy to other people, and then people don't even see it. But that's the reason He didn't give them the vision. He gave it to you. He gave your dreams to you. So you got to have faith. You got to believe in yourself. You got to work, and you got to understand that the tough times usually are to help you get better and help you improve in areas where you need to improve. So you just have to look at it like that, as it's just being a test. They say God, He doesn't. If He doesn't, who He loves, I think they say He chastises. So it's a part of the growth. And so these young men now, they're starting to understand that, and it's a part of life. So I tell them to continuously work, and not saying everything is going to be peaches and roses, but the more you work and understand the process, you'll be able to take the good and the bad.
Now, after the win against Keenan, I know the ride back to Orangeburg was a joyous ride, especially for those members of the football team who was part of the team last year with Keenan got him a couple of times. So I know it has to be satisfying and fulfilling for those players to get back. I would say amount of revenge on Keenan.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you've conquered something where you fail, first it is a sense of, like, hey, we did it, but also, enjoy it for a while, but then you got to get ready for the next game, the next test. So life is like that. You celebrate your victories, you celebrate your small accomplishments, and then you just move on to the next. You got to get ready for the next. So take time to enjoy it. We're gonna be off this week, and then we come back next week, and then we got to travel to Fox Creek, and then it's another test. So you're only good as your last game. So we gotta continuously play.
You mentioned with the week off coming up, what do you do with the players? And I know they're still on an emotional high coming off that win against Keenan, but they do have at least, I guess, a week to bask in the glow of success. But when does that attention turns to Fox Creek? Even though you don't have a game this week, but when does that uh, focus now? Say, okay, it's time to settle in and try to go 1-0 once again.
Well, I told our coaches, and for me, it started as soon as we got on the bus leaving Keenan. We are like thinking about Fox Creek. But for our young men, it's, I give you Saturday. Saturday, enjoy it. Sunday, we on to the next thing. So during this off week, we got to get some guys that's bang up. We get them guys well. Get in the weight room, lift, and then we just go over basically like fundamentals, strengthening areas that we were weak at in the first 5 games. Now let's work on strengthening those areas and get those guys ready for the next stretch, because it's going to be another stretch that we got to start again. And so it's you kind of break it down by preseason, non-conference, conference, and then playoffs, and each one's a different season. So, we got to stay focused. Fox Creek is our last non-conference game, and then we get into the bulk of where you for the paycheck then.
That's for all the marbles. Then I guess that's what they say. But I here's the thing. It's like it's funny how the season goes so fast because we're 5 games in. We're about at the halfway mark right now, and do you kind of like sit back and say, "Wow, this is like a roller coaster ride," because what you've been preparing for months on end, now all of a sudden half the season is over.
Yeah, it goes by so quick, and then it's like you get a little break, and then now you back in it for the next season. So time goes by so fast with this, and it's like it's a continuous grind. Uh, every year is a new year, so you and the thing about this is, you can't live off last year. So this year's right in the new year. Then after this year, you kind of move on to the next year, but you want to constantly improve. You want to see kids get better. And part of the growth process is just building a program. You want a program that's there year in and year out. And so there are a couple other components, I think, that we got to put in place, but it is a continuous grind that never stops.
And I want to ask you this because of the early success this Bruins team has. I mean, everybody know about the big names on the squad, but for you that you've seen this team day in day out, who are some of the unsung heroes that they might not appear in the stat sheet, but they have been inspiring in other ways.
That's a real good question. I got to start off first with Chris Darby on the line. at the beginning of the season, we didn't know if he was going to even have Chris because, he had a shoulder injury that they thought he was going to have surgery. When he got the MRI, found out he didn't, but he's there. He's playing. He's on the offensive line. You got to look at guys on that also like Jaden Lambright. You know, and one of the things about Chris, he comes to work every day. You got other young men that's in there, stepping up. Roman Pickering, a young kicker, first year kicking. Nobody knew about him. Boom, he's in there making the field goals. And then we got some young kids out there that's coming along. There's so many different names, but it's a lot of times you do hear about the running backs, the receivers, the quarterbacks, but you never hear about those guys up front. And I think those guys up front, they they go sometimes without hearing their name. You hear the defensive line like you hear Jackson Glenn. You will hear about the defensive line because defensive line, but the offensive line, you very rarely hear about those guys. But like I said, Chris, you got Ville, then we got some younger kids like Jaden Dash, PJ, Bennigan. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I got a bunch more. Sweeper. Those young linemen, and that's probably the one position that you never hear about their names, but you hear people constantly talking about them over and over and over.
And one thing I guess for the old linemen uh, is when they're opening holes for like Avenger or developing pockets for Peebles to pass in, and you don't hear a lot about their getting too many penalties on the offensive line because I haven't heard anything about that. So I guess if you don't hear really nothing from the offensive line, I guess that means they're doing a great job then.
Yeah. The offensive line, and of course, like I said, we lost three guys off our offensive line last year. Three starters that either from transferring or just graduating that we had to replace. And so and it's linemen, sometimes it takes a while to develop, but like those guys, for the part of them, most of them have been with me like either three the 4 years now, and so we're still working with them. Some of them have been with me about 2 or 1, maybe 1 year, and so they're still developing, and that's one of the things. But I do say we do have some good young linemen coming. Our JV line, I think on those JV linemen, we got some really big guys coming along. We got a kid out there that's about 6'8", 320 pounds.
Oh
So
wow!
we've got some boys coming, and it's just a matter of time just developing those young men and getting them ready.
It seems like you have a little powerhouse. What they say, uh, old lineman you.
That's what I wanted to be. I really wanted to be that old lineman you, because you can win games, but to win the big games, the championship games, you got to have the like I heard Dion say, I got the Travis Hunters in the secondary. I got the Travis Hunters at the receiver, but I need the Travis Hunters up front. And you got to have those guys. You got to have like maulers up front. When you got that, it makes like you're gonna win some ball games, and you're gonna win some games in the playoffs. You're gonna win some games like pushing the state. So, if you look at the teams that's playing later on in the season, when the chips, all the marbles on the line, I guarantee you they got 3 or 4 big slammer jammers up front that really can go get it.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Dion. I think Dion has the label leaders and dogs. There's leaders, and so does that hold true here too as well? You got leaders and you got some dogs.
Yeah, we got some leaders, we got some dogs. The thing about it is A lot of times in high school, the championship teams, you got leader. You got maybe one or two like solid leaders, and then you got some dogs, but those dogs hold people accountable. Uh, you know, the leaders are big because usually you can find a team with some dogs, but when you don't have that leader, somebody that is not out there trying to be liked, but basically kicking butt, taking names, but also doing the same thing what he's demanding of people, you got a different kind of team. You got a team that they're gonna make sure people are doing the right thing. I've seen teams, and I had teams in the past that whereas we had a bunch of horses out there, but we didn't have no leaders. And then I had teams where we had great leaders, we had some dogs out there, and we were able to go to Lower State Championship. And so it's I take it upon coaches and myself. You have to develop those leaders. You gotta impart to them the leadership what you're looking for in your team to help build those young men into solid leaders. So it's a process there. And sometimes when you take over programs, you don't have those type of leaders. So you got to grab a freshman when you come in, and you got to shape him, and you got to build him up, and you got to allow your leaders to make mistakes. A lot of times, people don't allow their leaders to make mistakes, but leaders are humans. And I always say with our kids, you know, let them. I'm gonna grow with you making mistakes, as long as you got the will to get it done. I'm gonna grow because those mistakes you're making now will be the same decisions you make to help us win. And so, it's a part of the growth process. And if you aren't willing to grow with them, you're never going to have that type leader. So, it's upon us as coaches to help build these young men into strong leaders. And it is a process. Sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's not, but it is a process.
It's a process, but as long as the wins keep coming in, that process is looking better and better each day, Coach.
You know, the wins are good, and everybody wants to win, but I want our kids to focus on a process of winning. And when I say the process of winning, winning. When I say you win, winning is just a reward for following through with the process. I tell our guys, when God helps you win, He's just rewarding you for the process. When you lose, He's teaching you a lesson. And so it's a two part. So I say, in every loss is a lesson, and every win is a reward. And so, you know, getting caught up with just the W's a lot of times, leave that to the fans. The fans are taught winning. They're gonna talk that. They don't. A lot of fans just don't understand the process of developing the team and the growth and the patience and the understanding. It's not for them. All fans do is care about the W's and the L's. And so let
Yeah.
fans be fans, and let us go ahead and be the builders of the team. And builders of the team, we focus on the process. So and if you focus on the process, then you're looking at the blueprints, you're looking at the measurements, you're looking at what needs to be here, what needs to go there, where to make sure we don't get this right. The people who come into the building, they just admiring the building. They're just looking at the building like, "Ooh, this is pretty glass, beautiful floors. This is a lovely place." But they don't understand what it took to build that place. They just looking at it like, "Oh, I like it." So let fans be fans. Let them talk. But we have to always focus on the process. Us as coaches, and help our players to focus on the same thing.
Oh yes, because the fans they going to talk. Win, lose, or draw, they always going to talk.
Yeah, you get that. Fans are passionate. Um, Sometimes it's a lot of times for them to live out their dreams of sometimes where maybe they didn't make it. Now they can live their dream out through the game. And so, in the
Yeah.
stands, you got a lot of you got a lot of coaches in the stands, you got a lot of Monday quarterbacks in the stands, but that's just a part of the game, you know. But the real work is done in the dark. It's done Monday through Thursday, or really Monday through Wednesday, because Thursday usually got a JV game. But the practice, the studying of the films. It's funny that you say that. Sometimes you get guys. I always get guys that come out and say, "Hey, coach, I would love to coach. I would love to be a coach." And then you start giving them the plan of what it takes to be a coach, like the Sunday meetings, the late practice, the staying way after the kids, the cleaning up, help make sure the locker room's clean, to breaking
Right.
down film on Saturdays. And then you get that thing where you hear them say, "Woo, I didn't know it was gonna take all of this." Coach, I gotta go do something.
Hey,
Yeah. So you get
look,
that right after that.
look. As soon as when they say "woo," I know that's it with them.
Yeah, man. So, one of the great things that I say and I tell our kids, um, and when people are gifted at something, a lot of times they make it look easy. And so, like some of our kids, they go out there, and I hear kids in school, man, I could do that. If I was out there, I could do that. And I kind of laugh because I know it's just that person just when they got a gift, people have gifts, they make things look easy, they make it seem like you want to do it. I remember when Jordan was on the court and he would walk down, he had
Yeah,
the shoes and the shorts with
yeah,
the wrist. Everybody wanted to
yeah.
do that because they thought that's what made Jordan, but they didn't know about the times where he was you know in the lab lifting weights, the late nights. Those are the things that
Putting up
make those
the
people.
shots.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I get it all the time. I get people who will walk up to me and give me just the easiest solution for everything. Hey, coach, if you just do this, this will work. And I'm like, but they don't know anything about what's going on behind the scenes. And so it's always easy
Yeah.
to fix things from the outside. But a lot of times Mike Tyson said, you know, it's easy to look at a fight, and it's easy to say you can fight until you get hit in the mouth in a real fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll see who really can
Right.
fight. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, so I look at it like that.
Right. Right. And look, we have a fight coming up in a couple of weeks against Fox Creek. So right now, let's get a little preview in because again, we don't have a game varsity game this week coming up here, but just look now we can actually look ahead a couple of weeks to Fox Creek and your early thoughts on Fox Creek.
Fox Creek, they got a dynamic quarterback that just transferred in. I'm trying to pull his name up as we speak, but they got a few transfers in, and they're right now they're sitting undefeated. I'm gonna pull that up here for you right
And
now because go
and,
ahead.
and while you and while you pull that up, I just had a thought when you mentioned about transfers and how much transfers now on a has really changed the game because of a little ruling change here and there. How has the transfer, should I dare say transfer portal, but how has the transfers really has changed the game, today's high school game?
I think it's big. You just saw where South Point's quarterback transferred to Keenan. You saw Gaffney quarterback transferred to Ridgeview, and so it's there, like it's coming. NIL, all that's coming, whether we like it or not, it's coming. And times are going to change, so we're going to see that. And it's I think the high school league understood it was coming, and so they just gave everybody the opportunity to do that. We lost a kid, we gained some kids, and so it's a part of it. But I just think from a coach's standpoint, you do what you got to do with the kids that you have, work by them, stay, and make sure they're in the right spot to do what they need to do. But the transfer thing is really shaping. It's going to reshape the landscape of what we see, how we see high school athletics.
If it's not already changing the landscape now. I mean, you mentioned NIL on a college level. I mean, that has changed the game, and not only that, the transfer portal. I mean, now that's part of American vocabulary now. It's transfer portal. I mean, we wasn't talking about that about 10, 15 years ago. We were just talking about, oh, he's transferring here. You know, we didn't really pay too much attention to it. But now the transfer portal to where you go in and you might not have to sit out a year. You might don't have to take a red shirt. You could probably go in and play right away. You know, things has really changed now in football. And I think honestly, and I would like to have your opinion. I think it's changed for the better because now coaches are also looked at as sort of kind of managers too, managers of the game. And it seems like the managers will have to now adjust to what is now 2025 football and beyond the landscape, and it's going to change because I would say about 10 years from now it's going to change again. So
It's going to change. That was one of the reasons Nick Saban got out, because he saw it coming. But for high school, and I think if you do right by your kids, play the best kid, put the best players out there on the field, and let them play ball. It's I think what most kids want is just the opportunity to play. And it's just like human beings on jobs. We work jobs, but when somebody finds a better job, they get better pay, they leave, they go. And so coaches were doing it like coaches were at programs and they tell, hey guys, I'm going to be here for the next 5 years. And then, hey, all of
right.
a sudden, boom, they're going out, from Alabama to LSU, so this thing is not it isn't new. Adults do it all the time. And I can't you can't blame somebody for wanting to better themselves or finding a better opportunity for them. I don't blame them. So I don't. I've been on both ends of the stick. I've had players that leave, transfer out on me, and I have players to come in and transfer in to me. And so I see it as it does happen. I think you as coaches, you got to prepare and when I'm saying prepare, you always got to look for the next kid. You got to find that next kid just in case this one goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, it sets a playing field. Whereas, all it does is you not only look for the first team guy, but you're looking for that second and third team guy that maybe have to replace this guy if he leaves. And so that's all it does. It makes you develop more than one kid. It makes you work with more than one kid. And you do what you're supposed to do, you're gonna get the players you need to get. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Build it, they'll come. And so you're gonna like I said, if you're in coaching now, you're gonna be on both ends of the spectrum. You're gonna have parents that bring their kids to you, and you're gonna have parents that take their kids away from you. You just gotta mitigate the losses and be happy for the rewards.
Right, right. And then not only that, once you do get a talented squad, or what press or other people who covers the sport believe that you gathered a talented squad. It's one thing to gather a talented squad, but it's another to put it all together to make it work and to make it work out if they're on the field. If you don't hear what I'm saying, just ask Dabo Sweeney.
One thing, and they said in the high school league they can't stop, but kids want to, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win, and everybody wants to be around players who want to win. It's like, you want to be around good people. They always say your circle determines, like, your circle either determines whether you're in a place where you can flourish or whether you're in a cage. And sometimes you could be in a cage where you could be with a group of people, but those people don't mean you any good. They don't want for your success. They hope you fail, and you're in a cage now. Or you can be around people who really got your back. They really want to see you win. When you win, they win. When you get those people around you, you're gonna be pretty good. And I think this year, I was able to bring in guys like that, bring in guys who want to see, not only program win, but they want to see Coach Carter win. And when you got guys like that, you're gonna be successful.
And the few minutes that we have left, because unfortunately technology is failing me here on my end. So, so I mean, it's a good conversation and whatnot, and we could talk about transfers, NILs, because it's going to be more significant as the years come around. But let's just put a little bow tie on the win against Keenan, and just a look forward to Fox Creek. Your, I guess, last thoughts and comments about the Keenan game. That's the first part, and then the second part. What do you look forward to in this game against Fox Creek in a couple weeks?
Kenny game was a big win for us. For our program, I thought that was good. Help make a statement to show that where we stand. I think with Fox Creek, we just gotta get ready for a team that's been explosive. I'm just pulling up a few of the guys like um, receiving the guy that they brought in, Makai Quiller. He's averaging 62 yards a game. Rushing, they got the running back that transferred in, Bryson Crawford. He's averaging 143 yards a game. Total touchdowns, Brian Crawford has 9. They got a linebacker, Noah Gaines, who's averaging about 12 tackles a game. And they also have Jason Trussell-Check leading the team, leading the area with sacks. So they've got some players. They're undefeated. They have a game this week, determines if they will stay undefeated. But right now, last week they scored 69 points. And they beat one of the teams there 69-0. So they got some firepower over there. So we got to go in, got to be ready to play. But I think our guys are rise to the occasion. And just like I believe that they're a good team, I believe in our kids too, and I believe our team is a good team.
Oh yeah, definitely. And our team is a good team because according to the presses, we are ranked. So that tells you that the Bruins, we're a pretty strong squad as well going into this matchup against Fox Creek. Well, coach. Well, coach. Again, like I said, I have don't know what's going on this end, but um, want to say congratulations once again. Our star of the game. I'm going to give it to Chris Glover. He did it offensively when he needed, when you called upon him. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, and he did it in a handful of attempts, rushing attempts. So hats off to him. And defensively, 9 tackles on the defensive end. Also getting into the backfield a few times there. So Chris Glover is the star of our game. Well, coach, you have about a week or so until the next game. So, try to make the best of it. And I know, go ahead.
I'm sitting on about 4% over here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm sitting less than that. So let's end it like this. Well, Coach Carter, thank you so very much for joining me, and of course we'll be back next week. Even though we don't have a game, but that'll be the perfect time to discuss a few things. We have to discuss a few things I want to bring up. So we'll do that next week on our off date. Okay. Well, Coach, thank you so very much for joining me here, and thank you all of our listeners and watchers. I'm Clarence Jones. Thank you. You've been watching the Coach Carter Show, and we will talk to you again real soon. So long, everybody.
Yeah.